Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of Regulator, here to give you an update on the mere 4,362 alerts this week. I sometimes think to myself, I can't be an expert on all of this, and then I remember that most of you are just watching one specific area. And if I was, let's say, only following cannabis, I could easily become the leading expert on just cannabis regs. I mean, there's only like 100 a week, but I like a challenge. And to that end, I'm going to invite all of you to Thursday's webinar on Russia and Ukraine, where I will distill everything you need to know about the 1,562 alerts that have come out so far this year. Use the link in the comments to sign up. It's at noon Eastern. The regulators of the week are the 50 states. Wow, so much, starting with 5 state securities regulators working together to take down the Flamingo Casino Club, which is a Russian-operated scam focused on selling NFTs in the metaverse. California is proposing changes to the CCPA, which covers any social media operator with over 1 million monthly users. They need to conspicuously address how they combat violence on their platform. And also, the rule change would allow a victim of such violence to have a right to sue the social media operator to remove the post. California is also proposing a rule change that would allow caterers to get a license to serve cannabis at private events. Also on cannabis, New Jersey has a rule on the table that would allow an employer to prohibit recreational use of cannabis by its employees if it falls under the exceptions listed by this new law. The exceptions are like operating heavy machinery, operating weapons, law enforcement officers, etc. Rhode Island is working to modernize its rules around credit cards to pave the route for some of the new fintechs out there. Louisiana is proposing a bill that would direct the local cash management review board to consider and report on ways the state can utilize cryptocurrency. Finally, Con Edison filed a petition with the New York State's Public Service Department to repurpose an existing plant in Brooklyn to prepare a way to accept some of the 9 gigawatts of offshore wind that New York is trying to generate before 2035. The comment period is open. The topic of the week is abortion. Why? Because last year there were a total of 43 regulatory alerts on this topic. This year so far 169, and 60 of those are just from the last 12 days since the Supreme Court leak. I bet you're all dying in curiosity how the breakdown is and where it's going, so I will give it to you, but only if you sign up for a Regulator demo. Last 4. 1. The SEC put out another proposed rule on SPAC disclosures, and comments are due by the end of this month, May 31st. They want to really get into the sponsors, conflicts of interest, and what is really going on in the underwriting process of those instruments. 2. The EBA published its final draft RTS specifying the information that crowdfunding service providers have to provide to investors on the calculation of credit scores and prices. And this is a minimum set of standards so that you can have a proper risk assessment and loan valuation, because the EBA is worried that investors of these platforms are operating with insufficient information, especially if the crowdfunding platform itself hasn't done enough due diligence. 3. Pat Toomey in the Senate is complaining about SIFI designations. For those of you who don't know what a SIFI is, it's basically a too big to fail designation that certain entities get, which elevates them to a higher standard of regulatory scrutiny. Pat Toomey, a Republican, is using his position on the U.S. Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs to voice his thoughts that this too is becoming too political. And for example, the FSOC meetings, they designate SIFIs, have been focused on climate change instead of economics. And the last one, because I thought it was uplifting, Canada is offering 3 federal charter flights to Canada for Ukrainians and their family members to come to Canada for safety. And that's it this week for Regalytics. We have the most comprehensive, coherent, and customizable regulatory alerts tool in the world. Come and see how company after company is transforming their compliance with this kind of transparency. See you next Wednesday.